Hey, it's Addo. So, I just kind of came to a realization recently that considering it's time to start moving on with life and whatnot, that Sonic Boom might be the last thing that I ever upload in GD, and I'm not particularly enjoying making content for the game as much as I used to, and that's been going on for a while. But I have about 9.5 minutes of footage of things that I've kind of built in my spare time, since I still enjoy building in small doses. And I was originally trying to keep them secret because, I didn't want people like knowing about them and then trying to just do my ideas better than me, because people would be able to do that quite easily. But then I figured, since there's a possibility that you may never hear from me again, that I wanted these to be out there just because I've put thought into them with the intent of people seeing them. So I'll go ahead and roll the footage, and I'll go ahead and explain the thought process and ideas I had behind each one, and I'll just kind of show the footage afterwards. Late Night Drive has been my most recent project, so to speak, and I haven't really worked on it a whole lot since September, but essentially it's my first sort of attempt at a design themed hybrid thing. And it's all based around the concept of traffic lights. It's like a giant glorified red light, green light game where when the red light is on, everything, including you and everything else around you, stops. So I played around with the concept a little bit, and you can see a little bit of it at play in the footage that I'm about to show you, but most of it's a layout, and I'm not really sure where to go with it. So here's that. If I finish anything, I want it to be Turmoil. I have a full layout for it already, and a little bit under half of it is already decorated. Basically, this was my kind of final last hurrah attempt at getting weekly, but the idea of it is sort of being stuck in a limbo between different updates. So there's some features of 1.9 in there's some features of 2.0 in there's some features of 2.1 in there. And the whole goal was to kind of try and juxtapose the three of them so that you felt like you were experiencing 4 years of the game's history at one time. I'm going to roll the footage, but this has a lot of rapid flashing in it, so if you're sensitive to that kind of stuff, skip ahead about a minute. So I don't have a name for this one because I'm not really as attached to it as the other two, but the working title is Jumbo for no real apparent reason. I came across some streamers by the name of 4Gs, and they're really funny. I'll go ahead and put the link in the description if I remember. And they are new to the game, and they just got it recently, and they've been streaming it, and they've been doing requests, and people have been sending them Zodiac. And they're having a really hard time getting into the flow of the game, so I wanted to make something that was a little bit easier and flowed really well for them so that they could have a better transition into it. I didn't get very far, but I had a lot of fun trying new decoration styles that were a little bit simpler. So I'll go ahead and roll the footage now. So here's another kind of funky one, affectionately given the working title of Weewoo Weewoo. It was inspired by the beginning of Idolized by Creo, which kind of sounds like it's going backwards, and that's the song that it uses. And basically, I used a mirror portal, but made the entire level go backwards so that it looked like you were playing it in the original regular direction. And the whole thing was supposed to be really trippy like that and like going the wrong way. And it didn't work out as well as I would have liked it to, but here's what I kind of got with it so far, and will probably be where I stop. So before I started working on Sonic Boom, I actually tried doing another remake of a 1.9 level, this time being Scarlett Surge by Incendium. And it's called Scarlet Pulse, and it's supposed to be like a revamped, demonized version. And I actually really do kind of like it. I just don't feel like building the rest of it. So it just kind of died off, and I feel bad about that. But yeah, here's what I have of that. So in case you couldn't tell that this was the obligatory Just Shapes and Beats level, I remade Termination Shock by Saber Pulse, the song, kind of. And I put it on Newgrounds, and I wanted to make a Just Shapes and Beats level with it, and I eventually agreed to collaborate with Subwoofer on this, but we both kind of had different visions for what we wanted, and it kind of didn't work out really well. But I also just didn't want to go through the pain of making all the hitboxes and stuff for this, and all the moving objects and whatnot, so I kind of let this one die off really quickly. Another reason for that is suddenly 20, 30 people made Just Shapes and Beats levels in the time that it took me to make this, so I just kind of gave up on it. But here's the small snippet of what I did accomplish before I gave up on it. I get a chuckle out of this one. So, the streamers that I mentioned earlier have this gimmick on their channel about the Church of Bread. So, just for them, I thought it would be really funny to make a boss fight with a loaf of bread. Hence the name Powerdough. Get it? Because sourdough bread, but it's like powerful. Roll the footage already. This one's called Tangent because the concept of it was to make every single design completely out of lines and curves and whatnot. So I made only one section out of it before I kind of got bored of it and moved on, but this is kind of what I had in mind for the beginning part. Impact is probably one of the oldest things in this video. It's from 2017. I never got a whole lot done with it, but basically I wanted to make something really fun with Classic Pursuit by Sysmix instantly when I heard it. and it turned out decently, I guess, but other people have already used Classic Pursuit, so the charm has kind of worn off with me a little bit. So look away while I describe this if your eyes are sensitive to flashing and just wait for the music to come on. But basically, before Scarlet Pulse even, the first level I tried remaking was Bouncy World by Serpunge, which is the extra long level that everyone forgot about because Fez was better. But I really was charmed by Bouncy World, and I wanted to make kind of a redux of it that was a little bit easier and more accessible. But it ended up being kind of unpolished garbage. So, it's just kind of what it is now. I'll probably never finish it, but I had a lot of fun kind of trying to reiterate the nostalgia that I was getting from the level. Breathe is one of my personal favorites on the list, but you can really tell that it didn't age very well. It's at least a year old by now. It uses a Blixa by Garligan, and I was just kind of building to the feel of the song and trying to make something really chill and relaxing and really nice. And I feel like I pulled it off a year ago, but I don't think it would hold up by today's standards, so I don't know if I should finish it or not. And I probably won't, but here it is. Okay, so you're really going to realize how old some of these levels are when I say this. But back when the Undertale community was alive, people would make remakes and remixes of the soundtrack songs, and there's a particular Electro Swing remix of the Asgore theme that I really kind of liked at the time, and so I made a layout to it, and then a little while later, there was a style that Dream Eater was using in a stream of his, and I asked him if I could kind of put my own spin on it, and he was like, yeah, sure. So I did, and it came out like this, and I kind of like it. I kind of dig it, but no one else does. So I kind of stopped caring about it. It's kind of fun, but it also uses an Undertale song. So I'm not quite sure if I should continue with it or not, and I'm probably never going to. But I had fun with it while it lasted. Here it is. Okay, so for 100 creator points, which was a while ago now, I wanted to make something that was a mashup of all of the levels that had gotten me there, and I had actually scrapped it before I even got to think of a title, but I ideated on it a lot, and I had planned out specific points in the song where everything was going to transition into the different parts of the levels, and I only started out with the Chambers part, and then I realized how much I hated Chambers, and so then I stopped. But this was an attempt at making something like that. And for 100 creator points, I ended up making Evolution instead, which I showed earlier in this video, actually, during one of my little description things. But yeah, this was a really ambitious project that ended in shambles, so I'll never finish this one, definitely not. But here's what I had of it. So to quickly wrap this up, I have like 4 or 5 other little projects that I had started decorating for different purposes. One of them is just kind of a style that I wanted to try out, and I only made like a second and a half. I made a few Levolution projects that never ended up taking flight. One of them uses Baby Y by Garligan, and the other uses Glacier Galaxy by Locken and Eek. The Garligan one is a little bit more straightforward. It's a little bit more simple designs with this one really weird effect part that I really liked, but it was too unpolished, so I didn't finish it. The Glacier Galaxy one plays with rainbow effects, but it's also really conceptual and unpolished, so I didn't want to finish that one either. My Doom Gauntlet entry, Monsters, is in here, and that was supposed to be kind of like a boss fight where the entire level is the boss, and that didn't really take off either. Ventus is one of my first attempts to build on mobile after, like, early 1.9. That's that really bad green one in there somewhere. So yeah, here all of those are. So that's basically it for all the stuff that I decorated, but I actually started a lot of layouts too, and I never ended up decorating them. But all of them were made with the intent of getting better at gameplay, and I feel like I did, but I want to kind of show some of the things that I made in that process to kind of show you what I had to go through in order to get from one place to another. Now, I have a whole other video called The Scrapyard, which is unlisted, which I might actually link in the description, so you can see some of the other layouts that I worked on. But apart from that, this is basically what I had. So yeah, that's basically all I have. In case you couldn't tell, I never really actually stopped building. I just slowed down a lot, and that resulted in a lot of like one segment to a half of a segment pieces of things that I made, got bored with, and moved on from. And I know that it's a little bit of an anticlimactic end considering some of the stuff that I have finished, but I wanted this to kind of be out there to show that I have been working on stuff. I just haven't really felt the motivation, nor have I seen the point in finishing any of it. But I kind of realized that other than like Balance and Evermore, I haven't released anything in like a year other than Sonic Boom. And so I figured I haven't really been showing enough of the original stuff that I've kind of done over time. And so yeah, if you've made it this far, I want to say thanks for sticking around with me for the 4 or 5 years I've spent getting better at this gradually, because it's definitely been quite a ride. I feel like I've gotten a little bit too lucky over the years, and I'm definitely grateful for it because I've been given the opportunity to meet a lot of really cool people and try out a lot of really cool things. So, yeah, it's been great. I'm not saying this is the end because I don't have to stop right now. I still have some time, and it's not like I'm going to completely run out of time at some point in like the really near future, as in like the next few months. But like I just don't see myself being able to put something together in the time that I have left, and I don't really know how much time left I actually have. So this isn't necessarily goodbye. It's not what I want this to be. I don't think I'm ever going to actually announce when I fully kind of fade away from this, because I don't want to draw too much attention to it, because it isn't supposed to be really that big of a deal. But in case I never finish anything else, and in case this is the end of it, I kind of wanted to make something that meant something to me and hopefully means something to you, and kind of wrap it up in case this is the last thing that I do. Treat this as less of a valediction and more of a fail-safe, see you later kind of thing. But even with that being said, I want to thank all of you for sticking around this far and kind of watching this happen alongside me, because it's definitely been a journey that I don't think I'll ever forget.